My name's Chhor, and I'm a photographer in Victoria, BC. One of my closest homies, Jamie, my best friend, he had a Canon 70D, and he gave me the full setup. There's this dude named Michael Ashby, and he's a skater from here, but he's also a professional wildlife photographer. So he does like birds, different animals. Mike is like a great example of someone that I really look up to that way, where he takes amazing shots. I think there's a few jobs that he gets where it's like, hey, we need a photo like this. And he goes out and gets it. Like I think he has a bit of a budget and whatnot, but he'll go out and find a certain species, take a certain photo. It would be cool to get to a point like that. And after seeing his shit, I slowly started to get into the birding stuff. That was like the transition to that. From there, I've spent like so much money on camera gear for this hobby. And yeah, gone to birding pretty hard, and like wildlife stuff too. There's a lot of movement involved, especially in skating. For example, if someone's doing a certain trick, do they have a certain posture that you want to capture? There's like a lot of elements of movement and framing something. Wildlife is kind of like that too. That's the overlap. But wildlife, the variable is way bigger. You never know when they're going to behave a certain way. They hunt around this time, so this might be the time that you will find a certain bird or species eating or killing something and hunting. Whereas in skateboarding, generally you can get the person to try over and over again. And normally they do anyways, because a lot of the tricks aren't first try. So you get a lot of opportunity at the session. Whereas wildlife, you kind of have to take what you can get. Skate photos too, you can choose from multiple, and bird photos you can do that as well. If a behavior happens, and for example, my camera nowadays, and a lot of people nowadays with wildlife photography will just have it on this burst mode. So it takes multiple photos at one time. You can do that in skateboarding as well. But I think with skateboarding, there is a more technical aspect to it that's really satisfying. It's, you have your flash like set up somewhere, your subject is doing the trick and capturing the right moment. There is an element of control, where with wildlife, there's a slight element of knowledge control. You're going at a certain time, that the species might be more out and about, or might be hunting, might be even sleeping if you want that kind of photo, or breeding, nesting, etc. There's that, but you have to go out and you can't tell the subject what to do. You can't predict where it's gonna be. Even if you line up for the best photo ever, it can just move to another spot. So there's more elements of luck, which is actually really satisfying too. It's fun to dive into the side before the shot. There's a lot of research that goes in. There's a lot of mental thought that goes in, and that might not even be applied. You will go out and not even see the species that you're looking for at all, and you kind of have to save that for later. Whereas in skateboarding, you're gonna go out, take a photo that day. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully they get the trick, and the chances are pretty high generally if you're already out there. And you can always schedule a time, It's like, you didn't get it today. Like, the lighting will be better this time. Let's go at this time, and then get the shot. With wildlife, it's so random, which is also very satisfying, but element of luck is, I don't know, it takes the pressure off a bit, because you're just out there enjoying nature. And if you happen to get a sick shot, then you got a sick shot. I felt like you know, how do I do stuff a bit differently? And I kind of had my own like ideas, and it was more so like presenting people rather than the photo themselves. But then at a certain point, I realized that skate photography is there's a certain way to do it. If you want to go into a mag or do certain things, it's hard to become creative in the photos. It's more so the skater themselves, the spot that they choose. That is like at least half the element, you know? So there's a lot of variables that are outside of that side of creativity because someone else is always involved. It's like a collaborative thing. You could say wildlife is a collaborative thing, but they have no say. You're just doing whatever you want creatively. Whereas if you're taking a photo of someone, sometimes you have to be like, is this okay if I post this too? You know, they might want to go back and get a better angle or something different. Which, like, I think is good, especially if they want to push their photos or skating a certain way or present it a certain way. Pretty minimal editing. Yeah, I think that's why right now I lean a lot more towards wildlife stuff because there's way less pressure. Like, it's just like, I'm out there. If I get the shot, I get the shot. If I don't, I had a good time out in nature. I think of photography as more a creative thing. So when there's pressure is good sometimes. I mean, it comes pretty naturally when you're, you know, at a spot skateboarding, and sometimes feelings are high, especially if it's a really hard trick or, you know, things are going on or there's traffic or whatever. Same thing with wildlife, where trying to find this individual species, you finally find it, but the shot that you got was shit or really bad, or the lighting was bad, and you have to go out again at some point, or maybe even next year if it's a, you know, migratory species or whatnot. There's different species that will breed at certain times. Victoria in specific is like a great migration spot for different birds to fly over, whether they're going to the Arctic to breed or going down south to somewhere tropic to also breed. So we get a lot of species that will stop by, a lot of shore birds, lots of everything actually. So in Victoria, we have so many good spots, lagoons, there's lots of forests, there's a lot of shorebirds that come around because we have a lot of beaches, lots of places to go. Yeah, even recently there's 2 pelicans, and it's so weird to see a pelican here, but it's just like out in the water, 2 of them with a bunch of seagulls. But yeah, my process is kind of seeing what the season is, doing a lot of research of what I want to take a photo of, like a certain species. It's kind of like Pokemon, where you kind of get somewhat obsessed with, okay, I want to take a photo of, you know, the kingfisher. It's a really elusive small bird. I kind of want a certain shot, like you have something in your head. I went out every morning before work to go try to find this bird, and I knew there was one just downtown, close by to work, and I would go there every morning, and it's a really vocal bird actually, so I would just hear it all the time, and it kind of haunted me. It's like this rattling, like, kind of sounds like an AK almost. And it's tiny. The bird is like maybe this big, which is about maybe 3 or 4 inches tall type thing. And finally it just landed right in front of me. It's not the shot that I wanted, but it was a great shot, and I took what I could get, and it was a cool moment to finally be that close to this skittish bird. Owls are like a special one. There's one downtown, same thing with the kingfisher, where I would come like early downtown, because there's a specific individual owl that I would see in a very urban spot. And it was just there, I would say, every other day. Certain owls will have behavior where they just stay in the same spot. So there's certain spots all around town where I'll go visit maybe once a week or whatever. One of the latest ones I saw was, there's a great horned owl close to my house. They have these like huge yellow eyes, pretty stunning. And I saw one, and I was like kind of tracking it, watching it. It wasn't great for a photo opportunity because the lighting was kind of bad, so I was just like watching the behavior. And then I saw a second one, like I heard a second one, then saw it. and then there was a third one. So it was just like a straight family, and they all like flew off together, and it was a cool, really cool moment. And I always see photos from Mike Ashby that I mentioned earlier, and a few other people that are local and around, and they get these amazing shots, and the work that they put in to frequent the same spot in the same forest, wherever it may be, and listen for them, go back the next day, do it again, until they can finally pinpoint where they are, and then they found the spot. So yeah, owls are really cool. That's a really fun one. But for me, I kind of enjoy the journey of it, you know? Not necessarily the shot itself. It's nice getting like an amazing shot, but I like the sesh. Like I like being out with the homies, like just hanging out. I like being out in nature, just hanging out. And if something comes out of it, awesome. If something doesn't, then I had a good time anyways. We have a pretty large amount of jumping spiders. I didn't realize that until recently, until I garnered an interest in this, but they're like the cute little spiders that, I don't know, sometimes they're up to like 5 millimeters big, or in length. They're so tiny, and it's really satisfying just following one around, because it can't really get away from you either. You're just, you know, you're a giant human being. You can take 2 steps and you're there. It's really interesting to see a species, take a photo of it, and then realize later that it's a really rare species, or you know, you do the research after, because there's so many species of bugs, so many species of birds too. It's so interesting that you're just like, oh, that was like a rare occurrence, and I don't know if I can repeat that again, but I didn't appreciate it at the time, but now I appreciate it. It was so interesting because I had my birding lens, looked at this hawk, and it was so close to me, it actually flew right past me because it heard something in the grass on the ground behind me. And there's a lizard there. The hawk unfortunately missed the lizard, but was kind of on these rocks, like chilling. It was a juvenile Cooper's hawk. It just chilled like, I don't know, 5 feet away from me, which is insane. I got some shots of it, and then it left. And then I realized, holy shit, there's a lot of reptiles around. Maybe I'll take some photos. And then I got, that day, a couple photos of some snakes. It's cool to have the ability to capture, you know, top of the food chain and bottom of the food chain and everything in between. I think a lot of people kind of focus on one, but I like the idea of seeing kind of the whole thing. So yeah, me and Sergio met through skateboarding.
My name is Sergio Petraconne, and I'm a photographer here working out of my studio in Victoria, BC. Before the pandemic, I was living still in Montreal, and when I moved to Victoria, it was just before the pandemic started, which gave me a lot of free time because I was in a new city. I was trying to make friends, trying to get out there. And one of the only ways that you can do that during the pandemic was through skateboarding. And it was really neat because, like, I mean, I got way better at skating during the pandemic, which was great. But also, I just met a lot of friends, and I met a lot of people within this community that were just like-minded and just trying to figure out life. And we all have some common ground on skating, which was, yeah, it was just like a way to, it's like a way in.
So it's cool that everyone can kind of link up in a certain way. I think skateboarding really lends itself to that. You go to a skate park, people are all so different, doing different things, but you know, you're in the same space as someone, so eventually you just get to know them. And me and Sergio got to chatting, and he is a professional photographer, does videography as well.
So I would see him often, and we were just chatting up and talking a lot about photography, and I know he was starting to get into bird photography and into just being a very big hobbyist as a photographer.
It's cool to see what people are doing, and Sergio's like doing it very well.
The young joy of creating something and just that super excitement about all the new equipment and all the new gear and all these things, it reinvigorated my love for it. And I loved talking to him about photography and about, you know, skateboarding and just things that kind of tie us together. It kind of brings me back to why I started photography as well, and just the act of capturing something that doesn't exist or stopping a moment in time and immortalizing it. Shooting skateboarding is one of the most exciting things to do, either in photography or in videography, because it's so like moment in time. I don't know, the more you put yourself in the right place at the right time, the more lucky you get. And being around photographers at all levels that are shooting all kinds of things is one of the ways that keeps me motivated to keep shooting and keeps me excited to keep shooting.
He was a great person, especially at the start of taking all these photos, and I would always ask him for advice on how to take a certain shot, sometimes about editing, sometimes about, you know, the gear itself, like the photography gear. So Sergio's been a big help that way, and it's cool to see him kind of transition fully into this food passion of his.
I grew up in Winnipeg, and being in such a central area, I feel like it opened up a lot of, like, we were far from everything but close to everything as well. And we would do a lot of family vacations in the summers and always just like out and about doing things and wanting to capture those memories. As long as I can remember, my mom always had some kind of point and shoot or a camera with her, and she would scrapbook these books together. And I too, I remember, like, you know, first digital cameras would come out in like 2004. And I'd be like looking at all the specs and looking at, oh man, we gotta get this one because it's got like a 3.5 LCD on it, and it's got, you know, it can capture more shots on this one instead of shooting on film or whatever it was. And like, this is like, you know, I'm a child, so I'm not exactly photography minded, but I remember liking the idea of this little toy was able to capture or create these memories or immortalize these memories that we were having. My older brother is a microbiologist, he's a scientist, so I kind of always followed those footsteps of just going the science route of life and not really thinking of art as a viable way of making a business. And then when I was in college, I took an elective, which was a photography class, and they just basically told us to go shoot some stuff and then just create, expose it. We were in the dark room, we would have enlargers, and it was just so cool to like physically hold something. That was like just the idea of like, oh, I took a picture of this squirrel last week. This is the thing. Squirrel might not exist, but I still have this photo. Like, my first camera that I bought myself was a T3i. For car events. I was shooting car shows, I was shooting like my modified car, my friends' modified cars, things like that. Mostly just going to every event I could. Oh, you're our friend because you're Mr. Camera Guy. Meanwhile, I'm like so socially awkward and anxious, and all I'm thinking about is like the next shot, because I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool, but also like, I'm only here because of this. I'm gonna focus on this thing. And yeah, by the time I graduated university, I was just like, I need to continue doing this thing. Like, it was just so much fun that I needed to figure out how to make it work. Having a camera in your hands, your first thought of being a photographer is shooting portraits, shooting weddings, shooting events, you know, very like simple first thought things. And that's what I was shooting a lot of. When I started like charging, I'd realize, oh, I can make $200 for headshots, or I can charge a little bit because people need new LinkedIn profile pictures or whatever it was. So I was realizing these little niches of people that needed photos, and I'm like, oh, I can supply this demand, I can supply this demand. Up until the pandemic, I was shooting almost exclusively portraits. I was just shooting almost only with people. And during the pandemic, nobody wanted to be in the same room with me. And I just had to pivot. I had to try to think of something else to be fresh, to be current. So what I did is I just started shooting my pantry food in my living room, which is basically the start of the snowball of this whole still life product advertising game. The more I did it, the more I realized it played with the intricate level of photography that I like. I love the nerdiness of, just the nerdiness of photography, and still life really helps you flex that as much as you can. It's a lot less about the interaction with people and a lot more about just the product and trying to make something mundane look absolutely extraordinary. And I love that. I love that about photography. And the more I realize that this is a thing that I enjoy doing, I'm also realizing how much of the world runs on advertising, and working in a commercial field might not be as creatively fulfilling as other fields sometimes to some people, but it's definitely it's a field that allows you to live a real comfortable life as a creative. I don't have to convince people that they need a new headshot. It's a store that has something to sell and I can help them sell it. So it's a lot easier as a business model, I would say. I love getting to create scenes that don't exist yet. And I like the idea of, yeah, just making something that hasn't happened and hasn't existed and just creating something out of nothing.
He recently did a project with another friend of mine, Steph, and Steph is a chef. And they linked up, and Sergio was taking professional food photos for Steph, and Steph is an up-and-coming Canadian chef, and he used that photo to get into a competition that he's currently competing in now, and if he makes the next tier, he'll be, traveling around the world.
I mean, I'm super lucky to I have this very consistent contract with a interior decorator or interior stylist. And she has a storefront as well as she stages homes, and she's always getting me to shoot these $5–10 million homes and these $50 candles and $10,000 sofas and $20,000 rugs, and it gets me access to this world that I would never otherwise be in. I remember pulling up in like some rusty Subaru, and I'm going through like a gated house through like, a 1 kilometer driveway to get to the house that's waterfront. I'm like, why am I here? But that world, that access has been really neat for just being able to land a lot of local magazines as well as a billboard here, which has been really neat to just see your work that big. Your photography is not going to change after you reach a billboard or a bus or a this or a, like it's just another day. Oh, that was kind of cool. Now what? There's always something else, and there's always just another day to keep shooting, keep doing things. But I am very fortunate to be just, I guess, the one that's lucky enough to get those jobs. I work with an agency that gets me all of the Uber Eats contracts in town, which is quite neat to be able to meet all of these restaurateurs and these industry folk that instantly, like as soon as they sign up, they get a shoot with me, and it's paid for by Uber, which is a fun little, just no stress, they're just really excited, and I get to just meet all these people, and I get to have basically like a job. Like I wake up and I'm like, oh, where am I shooting this week? Oh, there, and there. Like it's a fun, like it's been a very lucky contract to have for sure. I think that's what's really neat is, you can take a cool picture of a piece of jewelry and everyone's gonna go wow, or a pizza that everyone wants to eat. But it's taking the super mundane stuff like a kitchen cabinet and trying to make it look exciting and make people go wow and make people stop scrolling. That's a fun challenge. That's been like a really exciting contract of mine that I've had recently. I can go back through thousands of different things that I've shot. Yeah, what I'm bringing to those shoots versus what I'm bringing to Rebellion, the barbershop that just hired me, is the same thing. Like I love being able to shoot, and I will treat every client like if it's the biggest client in my career, because I just love doing this. It's been cool to just get access again to all of these places, access to all of this food. I've been trying a lot of food that I've never tried before just because I'm being told to shoot a Filipino cart outside of Value Village. I'm getting to shoot so many different types of food, and it's been a really fun contract with Uber Eats for sure. One of the people that I'm super fortunate to know is Alex Duquette, who tattoos me and does all of the artwork for Take to the Grave, which is a clothing brand, home goods brand, tattoo brand out of Nova Scotia, Cape Breton. And it's just been a really neat kind of contract to work with them. They're such a big name in the tattoo world, and I just feel like I have such a cool little in just because I'm friends with the guy who does the drawings. And it's a very fun environment to work in because they're just friends. And I think the more you can have jobs with friends, the better your career is going to be. you know, YouTube felt like very natural for me. It felt like a easy way to just give back because of how much I consumed from the platform. There's a lot that isn't out there, and it's nice to be able to find those little niches and find those areas of the conversation that isn't being had. And I think, especially as photographers, a lot of the things that we do is make things look really good. So it's easy to like fake our lives and to fake like, oh, look at all these cool things and look at all these great images that I'm able to create. And I kind of just like breaking that down, whether it's other photographers, filmmakers, freelancers in general. There's probably some stuff that's nice to hear when someone else is telling it to you. You know, just like a little bit of, you're not crazy. There's a lot, there's a vast world out here, and even if you're having a bad day, it doesn't mean it's always going to be like this. My photos have a very striking style to them. They're very contrasty from a lighting point of view, but even from color to subject matter. If I can create a pun out of an image, oh, I'm happy. But realistically, all I want you to do is just think about it. And if I can make you think something, whether that's amazement or anger or happiness, then I did my job. So I'm happy with that. Whatever the mood it is that I was able to create, then at least I was able to create a mood, so I'm pretty happy with that. I think if you just follow what it is that you love to do, and you continue to be passionate about it, you're gonna learn all of the ins and outs, and whether you hate your job at a thing that you hate doing or you hate a certain aspect of a job that you love doing, there's a big difference. And I love the fact that I get to do this and call this my job and pay my bills with just this. And honestly, if I was able to figure it out, there's no reason you can't figure it out yourself. It's not that difficult. It just takes a lot of passion and drive and patience.